See. All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Chris McMillon, and this is Autonomy Season 1. I'm here with Tim Flynn down in Houston, Texas. Tim, how are you feeling this evening?
Fantastic. How are you doing?
I'm great. Is it raining down there right now?
I see some clouds, but no rain yet.
Okay, well, it's pouring cats and dogs here in East Texas. So
Well, we should get our dose here pretty soon then.
it's heading your way. It's coming.
Yeah.
I went outside and I started blowing and pushing it towards you, man.
I know you got some hot air in there, but I don't know if you're capable of that.
Your brain model is amazing. I was just wondering, so when did you start using the brain model to do your research, and what are your ideal topics of research? How long have you been into all this?
Yeah. Well, I've been using the brain model for quite some time. I don't know, 8 or 9 years, maybe. I know I've paid for 2 upgrades at least. So, and I got interested in it because of the Tragedy and Hope community. Richard kind of spun that up and was using it, and I saw some value in it. And, actually it might've been someone else who initially turned me on to it. And then I saw that he was also using it. But I think, back in the late 90s, I kind of came to the conclusion that, okay, what can I do to enhance my position in the world, live well, improve myself? So I started looking into the financial markets. I started doing some trading, some stock trading and options trading. And I worked in the trading in the energy business. So I had some understanding of it. But I kind of quickly came to the conclusion that everybody made money except for the person taking the risk. So what was wrong with that picture? Something was desperately wrong, that the commission gets paid, you cross the bid offer spread, you get a mutual fund, they get a fee and a commission. Anything you make after you put your money at risk, the government takes 20 or 30% of that. So just made me continuously question what was going on. So I'm very curious, and I just kind of started to seek out knowledge. And then, of course, 9/11 happened, and I was very disturbed, and something was desperately wrong with that scene for me. It just didn't make sense, even at the immediate time to me. I came home and I was like, there's something desperately wrong here, because those buildings exploded. They didn't fall down, they exploded, and then they disappeared. And then it happened on the same day at almost the same time after planes hit. It's not right. Something is not right. And when I saw Tower 7, I was just I kind of filed it away for a while. And then I saw the Tower 7 and I said, okay, well, that's an absolute smoking gun to me. So I'm just so tired of being lied to and bullshitted by mainstream media and government. And so I just started digging and pulling out more and more and looking for sources. But I guess what happened is I would get onto a source, and then I would consume it for a while, and then I would either recognize the richness of the source or have that source get me to another source that was richer or more value. So I kept on trying to enhance the value of the information that I was inputting from different sources. And I read a lot of Lou Rockwell, and he had good authors. So I would go read what the authors had, and then those authors would lead me to other authors. And, so I did that for quite a long time. And then I stumbled into Richard's work, and I don't remember exactly how I got introduced to that.
Sorry, Tim, at which point were your suspicions about 9/11? How long did it take before you were absolutely sure, yeah, this is not what they're telling us, doesn't make sense?
Well, I was pretty sure on day one, and then
okay.
I just kind of filed it away in my brain. It just didn't make sense, right? And then I think I knew at some point that I was going to find more information about that didn't make sense. And indeed, none of it makes sense. So.
I definitely had, I was definitely more indoctrinated and I had that scarcity mentality. Um, it wasn't brought to my attention until 3 or 4 years later. Um, and someone said, "Oh yeah, it's not what it seems." And I was open to it. I thought, yeah, probably true, but what can I do about it? And life went on. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it took me a lot longer. So good on you for, seeing through the matrix a lot earlier than most people.
Well, um, yeah, I'm 51 years old, so I probably had a few more years to gather of schooling and work world and media world and a little more cognitive dissonance to gather up at that point.
Your
So
your BS detector was a bit more refined.
yeah, I mean, I'm generally very trusting, especially of people, and I paid the price for that at sometimes in the past, and I think now I'm more discerning. It's not like I'm less trustful; it's just more discerning, and like asking more relevant questions.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what autonomy is about, right? Asking relevant questions,
Yeah.
seeking relevant answers that can guide us in a direction that's useful, profitable, and keeps us out of trouble.
Yeah, exactly. How many do you have a different brain model for different aspects of your research, or do you kind of clump it all together? Do you use the brain model for personal organization as well?
I have in the past used the brain model for other topics, and I don't have anything as well built out as that history brain model that I have, and that's kind of my research area. But I have done project work in there and documented other things that I like. I really would like to have it in the professional world and see it spread around a little bit because I think it's a great way to capture information that you can then recall quickly and very searchable. And it makes a lot more sense to me in a matrix than, say, a Google search does.
I mean, I was, browsing through your Mae Brussell brain model. It's fascinating. I'm looking here at Operation Paperclip, and it's
Oh,
so
man.
bam, it leads to all of the Nazis, all
Yeah.
listed there. You can look them up, and then yeah, the ones that I suppose these are the ones that they brought over to the States after the war. Um,
Yeah.
but you can just go anywhere with it. Yeah, it's a tool to help you study and organize your own thoughts and share with other people as well. It's just great. I was really impressed, throughout the chats in Discord, throughout the autonomy course, how you would just pop up, but post a quick brain model that was relevant to whatever we were talking about. Bam, Tim had a brain model on it. People could just, oh yeah, let's look here. There we go. Yeah, really good stuff.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. I mean, I'm just so happy to be able to share some of that information and some of the passion that I have for it with other people who are interested. It's difficult to find other people who are that interested in this type of history. I see you have your Tragedy and Hope book on the back wall there. I've got mine, and I really spent a lot of time getting through that, and it made a lot of sense to me.
So I have to confess, I have not actually read it from cover. I've read bits and pieces of it. I have read 101, but yeah, that's my confession there. I have yet to read the actual book all the way through.
Well, it's a hefty tome, and there are a lot of relevant passages that people have called out in the past that make sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's yeah, how many 1,300 and something pages. No. I was really appreciative of Joe Plummer's book, Tragedy and Hope 101,
Yes.
as a general overview introduction to the book. And of course, if you go through all the Peace Revolution podcasts, the main idea behind Tragedy and Hope is clear. But still, I do think I need to read it for myself as well. What other topics are you into researching besides relevant historical topics? What are your other interests?
Well, I am interested in philosophy and psychology, and then tying those things into history as well, trying to understand kind of the human condition and human behavior and relating it back to what I see in the world. So I study, I really enjoy cognitive behavioral therapy and studying about that. I've also done a lot of study on internal family systems. Um, Richard Schwartz's model in particular, but there are other models that I really like. I'm interested in how people can develop themselves to the point where they can self-actualize, they can put their baggage down and go in the direction that they want to go in with support from others, support from knowledge that they pick up from reading or coaching or counseling, and kind of helping people be whatever they want to be to the highest extent that they can extend that, and then doing that myself too, and then realizing my self-actualization through that process.
Who are some of your favorite philosophers? Who are some of the philosophers that are the good guys, would you say?
Well, I mean, all of the Stoic philosophers make sense to me, and Aristotle makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, but
And
Plato, could you argue he was one of the bad guys? His Republic?
yeah, from what I understand, he advocated a kind of a utopia, and that's not for me. There's no utopia, period. People have to struggle through life. That's part of the kind of the beauty of life, is overcoming struggles and recognizing that you can, having failures, learning from those failures, not having everything handed to you on a silver platter, but establishing your own efficacy in the world, and then delivering a shared value, a value into the world that you can share with other people. So that's not Plato.
No, no.
Yeah.
What about moral relativism?
Yeah, well, I really wrestle with that. Yeah, I definitely wrestle with that. I have been taking some mainstream psychology courses, and the postmodern influence is very strong in that field. And it's not for me as well. I think you lead yourself into a confused life if you don't have a guidepost or a signpost to anchor onto, or way of being. And it might be that that's within a set of rails, right? And that you don't exceed that set of rails. It may not be explicit, but I think that there's uh, people with a certain culture and with a strong upbringing, and then even with in the Christian tradition, they have a sense of right and wrong at least. And I don't, I think that all or nothing thinking can also get you in trouble. So it's not that everything is all bad or everything is all good, but you have shades of those things that are recognizable.
I really liked how Passio explained it on both extremes. On the one end, you've got randomness. On the other, you've got determinism.
Yeah.
As if they're kind of like the extreme side of moral relativism when it's at its worst. And the key is balance, somewhere in the middle.
Well, if you believe in moral relativism, you leave yourself open to any kind of um, psychological influence that anybody can lay on you, because you have no grounding.
Yeah.
And you could easily be taken advantage of by um, global warming people, or the medical community, or other people that try to bypass your critical thinking by using moral relativism.
And what about objectivism?
Objectivism. Well, I don't know. I don't know a whole lot about that, other than kind of what I've gathered up from Ayn Rand and
I mean, could you argue that it's the opposite of moral relativism in a way?
Um, yeah, I think that might be a little bit too strong of a case.
Stretch, isn't it?
Yeah, a little too strong of a case, because moral relativism to me is almost like infinity. So it's not.
Yeah, make it up. Make up the rules as we go, right?
Yeah, it's not really categorizable. And I think that in society, in relationships with other people who are seeking out, you know, their needs. You know, they're trying to get their needs met, and they're kind of moving up the hierarchy of needs. You can kind of rely on, in most cases, a way of being or motivation. And when people's motivations are unclear or they are askew, then that's a sign that maybe they have some moral relativism going on, and you might want to avoid those people.
Phrases like, what would you say? Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. That might be an indicator. Or, oh, it was meant to be. Yeah, it was meant to be. That's a moral relativism, on the determinism side.
Yeah. Well, everyone is entitled to their feelings. We're all equal. Yeah. Things like that.
I mean, opinion. If we're arguing over the color of a set of curtains, yeah, you're entitled to your own opinion. Yeah. But when it comes to things that can be boiled down to objective reality, and then the argument stops, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. You know, yeah. It's a cop-out.
Well, I think that's a good point, because being very objective myself, sometimes I miss the other side of things, like the spiritual or the esoteric or the feeling part. And I kind of fence it off with logic. And I think that ignoring that part of life is, you do it at your peril, and then you miss a lot. And you don't have as rich of a experience if you don't take some of those things into consideration. I mean, the people have been around for a long, long time, and they've learned a lot of things. To think that we're not influenced by the generations that preceded us, you know, spiritually or in the way that we act and behave, and to say that we all don't have some core of things that are very similar, and that it's all just made up by whatever your environment that you're in. This seems like a load of crap to me.
I was thinking about Spock, you know, from Star Trek.
Yeah.
Think about it, you know, he's complete, you know, objective reality, but then his human side, he's half human. So sometimes he was forced by Kirk to check into his human side. And I always loved that sign. So what you said earlier made me think, yeah, Spock, that's what it was actually about, balance. Because I think towards the end of the show, he was able to find balance in himself.
Yeah, so the other one that strikes me is the old Clint Eastwood characters.
Yeah.
Those old westerns, right?
Yeah, Blondie from the Sergio Leone trilogy, yeah?
Yeah. No, nothing going on there, right? No emotion whatsoever.
That's true.
And I enjoyed them. And one of my favorites is Outlaw Josie Wales. But yeah, he acts, but he doesn't show any emotion. So it's very interesting and challenging. And I think it's kind of a defense mechanism that they don't have to be vulnerable to other people if they act that way.
Yeah, and I think point. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, that's been a defense mechanism that I've used in the past. And over time, I've begun kind of growing out of that defense mechanism.
Your daughter, how old is she?
17.
17, yeah, great. So is she aware of these important topics that you have become aware of over the past years? What do you think of all this?
I think she might be a little bit overdosed, but she does come to me and say, can we study the magic bullet tonight? So then we spend time on the brain and then doing YouTube videos or reading something. And we studied the Kennedy assassination together for a couple of years. We just went to Daley Plaza recently, and we went to the museum and we went down on the plaza, and it was kind of it was a great experience for us because we had read so much about it and heard so much about it. And it made a lot of sense to see it for yourself, to go up to the Book Depository and then to get a feel for, well, that would probably be the worst shot out of any shot that you could take.
Yeah.
Why would you do that? Like, why would you sit up there with him going away at a down angle? It doesn't make sense. But every other spot makes a hell of a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So it's not random. It doesn't happen by accident. There's careful planning. And
Remember when you went to Dallas? That was when we were chatting there in Discord in the class, and you said, "Oh, I'm going to," that was when I found out you were down from Houston. So
yeah,
that was good. Yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
Good trip. Yeah, good place to take your kid. Good bit of history there going on.
I think if you have the background and you have the intellectual self-defense, then the Book Depository Museum is kind of a hoot.
Yeah, it's a joke, really. It really is.
Yeah.
Years ago, when my wife and I started dating, because she's from Ireland, and first time she came to Texas, so we went there. And I remember there were people down on the street with their own booths, their own material, saying, "Yeah, this is." And funny enough, over the past few years, they've disappeared. What a coincidence!
There's one down there we bought a CD from, so I'm gonna check.
Okay, so they are still hanging around. Okay,
There's one
good
down
to know. Maybe it was the day we were there.
So all those guys are in the brain model, and then we plugged them in. I don't know if I got all of the 200 witnesses that were killed, but I tried to get them in there. And the Assassination Review Board, 1977, I think it was, where they called the people to testify before Congress, and many of them were killed before they made it to the door. And they actually declared that, yeah, it was probably a conspiracy. Then it kind of got left at that.
I mean, seriously, yeah, anyone who actually believes the Kennedy story, you mean, who has actually looked into it. Okay, I don't blame a kid in the public indoctrination system, and they're told this and they haven't thought about it because they don't care. But if someone who has developed their research and critical thinking skills, and they look into this at all, even just a foot down the hole, and they still think, because it's like Oklahoma City. It's just, in fact, the evidence for Oklahoma City is even stronger from what I understand. I'm not an expert on the topic, but people who have done more research than me with evidence backed up with facts, apparently the evidence for Oklahoma City is mounted up even more. And it's just so blatantly obvious that the official story is a bunch of BS. It's ridiculous.
Just on the face of it, a fertilizer bomb out in front of that place just couldn't possibly do that much damage, right? A fuel air mixture bomb couldn't possibly have done that. There's just no way. I mean, I'm not an expert, but logically, it doesn't appear that could have happened.
If you get a chance, the latest Corbett report, he's done an interview with Ricky Varandas on the ripple effect, and that's the topic. And I've seen documentaries on the topic, but they were talking about things I still hadn't heard of. There was a witness who was mistaken to be one of the figures there, and he was killed in jail. And that was a mistake because his brother's some badass lawyer, and it's still going on today. This guy is,
Jesse Trinidad.
You don't know who I'm talking about, yeah?
Yeah, Jesse Trinidad. Yep, I followed that.
Yeah, I only learned that the other day. So, I mean, I love it. I just love, we never stop learning, and the rabbit hole, there's no end to it. There really is. Really isn't.
It's all in the brain. 9/11's pretty much in the brain. I took Mark Lombardi's work and I blew it up and I put it in. So
there's another requiem for the suicided right there, Mark Lombardi.
Yes, it's one of my categories in my model is suicided or assassinated.
Yeah, Hastings. Yeah, so many that come. Yeah.
Danny Casolaro, the Inslaw case, that was really Octopus. That was a very good book. Gary Webb, and Michael Hastings. Who knows about Breitbart? But all these people, if they get shot twice in the head because they were depressed, I call that Clinton Depression Syndrome, CDS.
Yeah, shoot yourself twice in the head, and label it as suicide.
Yes.
Incredible. Tim, how's your autonomy experience been?
Well, so far, I would call it a total immersion. And I think there are many benefits that I've derived from the course, not the least of which is meeting people like yourself and having a chance to interact and have great conversations and be with like-minded people in a safe and supportive environment.
Yeah.
We have all kinds of people in this program, and there really is like a mutual respect. There are a wide variety of ideas that are posited, and uh, you know, there's nobody gets shouted down, nobody gets shamed. All ideas are considered from a point of where's your evidence, what are the primary documents, how do you make your case? Yeah, I could be convinced if all those things align. So,
You weren't around today, this afternoon. You kind of missed a very good session. It was just hanging out in the afternoon, and suddenly the boardroom filled up. There was more
I see
people in the
that.
boardroom today than at Q&A last night.
Yeah,
I'll tell you about it later, but it was very interesting. But yeah,
yeah, I'm
and
jealous.
the great thing about autonomy, yeah, it's just these things happen.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I'm jealous. I'm at work. I'm looking, I see it's lit up, right? And I want to engage, but I can't. So there's that, there's the interactive piece. And then there's also the opportunity to raise your game with your skills, with your communication skills. If you look at where people were when they started the course and where they are now, it's amazing how much confidence and skills they picked up with public speaking, with presentations, with interviewing, with sales interviewing, with just piping up in a group, with doing technology, new technologies, getting familiar with those. So the brain model, the Discord model, the DTube, DLive, all the internet marketing people,
Zoom, Loom, OBS.
OBS, XSplit. I mean,
Yeah.
it goes on. And um, I just can't imagine like picking up these skills in a quicker amount of time any other place
Yeah.
and being supported in the way that we're supported by the team. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and to be surrounded by such talent, as Richard Grove and Lisa and the whole crew that has been involved, in supporting the course. Yeah, it's been. You're right. You're right. Have you? What skill would you say that you had the least amount? What skill have you improved the most on that you were weaker in from the beginning?
Well, I like to research and I like to come to my own conclusions, and I read and I read and I learn and then I experiment based on what I have learned. And then I do my brain model, and I experiment by myself. I kind of put action out into the world. I've never really done this type of thinking by having conversations.
Hmm.
And what I'm finding out is that by being challenged and having to think through my thoughts and speak them out, I don't know as much as I thought I knew. And also, other people have a lot to add, especially with this group. So I'm always amazed when I have a conversation like this at what I'm taught, the little things that I pick up. So that's been a big learning for me, just to be able to come out and have a conversation, share information, and then get feedback, and then pick up tidbits about things that I had no idea about, or things that I kind of knew about, things that I might be interested in, but now I'm really interested in. So it's like lit my curiosity afire as if it wasn't there before.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. You're going to Red Pill, aren't you?
Yes. Yeah.
Cool. And I'll see you the end of May as well, at the Texas Autonomy Gathering. That's something to look forward to.
Texas meetup. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I interviewed Pam last weekend. We had a great time, and I'm looking forward to seeing the whole crew up there.
Yeah, it'll be fun. you're you're in Houston, so you're just what 3 hours from her, more or less, 2 hours maybe even.
Yeah, I think it's, right in between there somewhere. It's kind of in from 45. I think it's maybe it's up through College Station to get up there, but it's before Waco. So
Yeah,
uh, I'm guessing it's about 3 hours, maybe a little less.
yeah, that'd be
Now,
um
where were you? You said East Texas?
yeah, I'm exactly 3 hours and 5 minutes to Cameron to the so I Google mapped it, so
Yeah.
no problem.
So you're up by Tyler or?
No, Greenville is the nearest big city.
Yeah.
Well, big city, it's 25,000.
Okay.
Do you know
It's
it?
kind of like, it's like my neighborhood over here.
Yeah.
In Houston.
No,
Well,
but
I'm not
I'm an hour
sure.
from Dallas. So, but yeah, I'm out in the sticks, small town.
Awesome.
There's 2,000 people, technically, where my address is.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I'm looking
Someday.
forward to it. And Badnerick will be there, I hear. So that'll be something.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
That'll be a treat. Leave the women and children at home.
yeah. No, I'll bring in mine. Are you coming with your family?
I'm trying to convince my wife to come, but I have a 20-year-old and a 17-year-old, and they kind of do their own thing most of the time. So we'll see. Maybe
Yeah, cool.
I'm
Um,
gonna bring some guns.
um,
Definitely.
yeah, just don't shoot my foot.
Do that.
Um, yeah, so that is a good point. The right to self-defense is a strong theme in autonomy as well.
It is.
And what is it Richard says? Freedom is intellectual defense and physical self-defense mainly. Yeah. If you don't have those two, and there's a third option as well. I'm drawing a blank here, but yeah, when he
Yeah.
said time is, oh yeah, I like that. A little triangle of logic there.
Yeah. So I don't know how exposed you are to mainstream media, but they have, like, every office I've worked in for the past 15 years have had something up either right in my face or around the corner. And it's very subliminal because there's no sound. So why are they up? And I think it's to in the it used to be that events happened quickly and traders needed to see what those events were. Um, but I don't see the point anymore because it's primarily just psychological warfare.
Yeah.
You go and you read the bylines and you're like, okay, you're telling me what I'm supposed to feel. How's that news? Like, you're trying to make me angry by talking about the other, and when in reality, that's just the other side of the coin. So it's
Disgust.
fascinating. But I'm insulted, and it's like it's kind of like being exposed to poison. It's bad for you, even if you have your intellectual self-defense. You don't want to be subject to that. The more you know, the less you want to be subject to it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, anytime I see mainstream news on, when you're in a waiting area or even at the gas station these days, they got a little screen there.
Oh,
You can't escape it. But it is fascinating to look at when once you wake up to the matrix and you start seeing through, and you whether it's left or right or middle of mainstream corporate media, it's I mean,
well, it's a squeeze play, right?
ridiculous. All of it. It's just pure, utter propaganda. There's very little
Well,
truth in any of it.
it's also a dialectical squeeze play because they set the bounds of um, discourse, and as long as you're in between those bounds, then everything's great for the media and commercial salespeople who are trying to get you to think in a certain way, act in a certain way, vote in a certain way, buy certain things. But in reality, that bookended discourse is just a thin slice of what's out there, and the opinions and the thoughts and the true reality of it all.
Yeah.
It's so much bigger than that little uh, pipe that they're asking you to look down every day, and it keeps on getting narrower and narrower and narrower.
Yeah. There is no difference between the left and the right. There is no difference.
Not in our
You know,
society, at least, for sure.
maybe little minute differences, but the reality is, at the top, it's all the same.
Well, if you think about it, if you looked at the last couple of presidencies, where of course they were brought in on change agendas, and
Yeah.
they really have no influence whatsoever on foreign policy. Like the band continues on to march on, right? Though,
Who was it? Was it Larkin Rose? Who the metaphor they used was the president is like, imagine you go into a major food chain restaurant, into one restaurant, and you have a problem. You want to speak to the manager. That manager is like the president. Yeah, that's the power he has. That manager, in that little one restaurant of
yeah.
a massive chain, and that's the truth. They don't call the shots.
I mean, I like to describe it as the bulldog on the hood of the Mack truck. It's like the Mack truck bulldog. It's just up there as a ornament for you to focus on, and to be, as a object of your anger or pleasure, one or the other.
And
To absorb the energy, right? It's like the president of the company absorbs the energy of the outside world so that it's not transmitted back through the company, so that they can continue to act in their own best interests as they act without being subject to real scrutiny. What really gets me is the fact that Bill and Hillary are running free, and how they have that's just a indicator to me of a multi-tiered justice system that is geared towards suppressing peasants, basically, or the serfs, and that oligarchical class, while they fight amongst themselves, they only really get taken out if they have a wrong action against the rest of the gang. So if you think about Seth Rich, he pretty much nailed that. He delivered the emails to WikiLeaks and ends up dead. So that the people who end up dead are kind of the lower level people, and it's only when they decide to tell the truth, or they kind of get out of line, they can continue to fight amongst themselves as long as it's within that narrow bounds of the dialectic. It's almost like when you go to, if my father-in-law used to tell the story of he went to court for some reason, and the attorneys were just at each other's throats in the courtroom, and then he went to lunch afterwards and he saw them laughing up and having a beer at lunchtime together. So it's just a puppet show, and I believe it's largely a puppet show.
And and on top of when you're exposed to mainstream corporate media, and then you've got the commercials. It's all pharmaceuticals, junk food, pharmaceuticals, junk food. So here, eat this, get sick. Oh, here, so you can buy this to maintain the cure, maintain maintain it. It's just the commercials.
Yeah. We made you sick. Here, take this pill.
Yeah.
So there's a strong argument for no television whatsoever. I still, I like my baseball, but I can fast forward through the commercials most of the time.
Yeah.
And if you do some research on commercials and then you really watch, you can look at the techniques that they're using. There's a lot of fallacies. There's a lot of attaching it to emotional reactions and using like the base instincts of greed, sex, hunger, envy, not enough. You're not enough. If you don't have these things, you're not enough. And then there's also the hypnotic aspect of it, where they flash the screen at less than quarter-second intervals with things. So it's going into your subconscious because your conscious is confused, and you drop your defenses and all of the information just goes right into the subconscious. I think that one might be one reason why they don't mind you fast forwarding through the commercials.
Huh.
As long as you watch.
Yeah, interesting.
Watch a Target commercial if you get a chance, and watch the way how fast the colors, the scenes, everything changes, and it's like a Alice in Wonderland world that they're projecting, and it's designed to confuse your intellect so that the information just goes right in and you absorb it into your subconscious.
That's very interesting. I mean, I've heard stuff like that, and I know it's worthy of a further discussion.
Yeah.
Myself, I don't mind. I love good. I love cinema, and I do like a good TV series. But when I see propaganda, and there is a lot of it out there. There's always something,
It's
and
all propaganda, Chris.
but I love as I develop being able to recognize it at least.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I say, oh, yeah, you couldn't help yourselves, could you? Yeah, you had to say that. You had to throw that in there. You know what I mean? But
There's a lot of, right? There's a lot of them just flipping it in, right? Yeah.
there was,
Just,
for example, do you know the show? Have you heard of the show Longmire?
I haven't heard of it, no.
A nice show. He's a sheriff up in Wyoming. Um, and it's got a nice array of characters, and it's got the deputy, and it was hard for me to find anything on that show, to tell you the truth. It was, he's very strict to his morals. He wants to do what's right, and he'll break his own law. He'll break the law if he has to do what's right. I thought, I can't find anything wrong with it. But then there was this one episode of these crazy anti-government guys living up in the hills who wanted to be on their own and separate from society. And of course, in the end, they were bastards. These guys, they caught his deputy, who's, and they were, doing violence with her. And of course, they were genuinely bad people. But that was associated with these anti-government, wanting to be self-sufficient people. I said, boom, there it is. You just couldn't help yourselves, could you? You had to throw it in there. That's an example of many of that you see as you go through.
They just so happen to be named Bundy, right?
I can't remember, but it was a nice series. Actually, it was a nice break. I was something I could watch with my kids, because kind of the Old Cowboy. It was kind of a Western, but modern Western.
Yeah.
But
there's not much you can watch with the kids.
No, not really. But yeah, pushing through every day, we learn a bit more. And I use my brain model more for personal organization, but I'm definitely motivated to start, especially looking at yours here. Because I've seen Richard's and I've gone through Richard's.
Yeah.
By making it yourself, that's how you learn. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it just kind of became a hobby, right?
Yeah. I love it. I really love it.
I couldn't, if you listen to the first 2 or 3 tapes of Mae Brussell, and that was just my starting point, right? I expanded way beyond all those things, but she packed so much information into a half hour. It would take me 3 hours of going through it just to get it okay, what was that? I didn't know that. I didn't realize that all these things went on. I had no idea about COINTELPRO out in California, the details of it, and then MK Ultra out at the Vacaville prison, and some of the people who came out of there, Donald DeFreeze and the Colonel Sink and the Manson crew out there, and the SLA. I had heard whispers of some of these things, but she's talking about it in real time as it happens. So it's just like a history capsule. Right?
Yeah, and she reads so fast and just so neutral. There's no blah, 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 blah. No, I remember she was even naming the exact boat that Hitler went to Argentina on. She's saying, he was on, and she was naming the name of the boat. She was giving very, a lot of details, and I was thinking, okay, well, maybe it's true, maybe it isn't. Maybe she has evidence. It's fascinating. I don't doubt her at all. Nope. Yeah.
She goes into Colony Dignidad down there in Paraguay, I think it was, or Bolivia, where they had a big torture center. And then she did all the Jim Jones stuff in real time as it occurred.
She was definitely the original alternative truth media personality. No doubt about that.
Yeah, there were a lot of other people kind of tracing the Kennedy assassination, like Mary Farrell. There's a big list of them, and they have a lot of very good information. And I really like that Mark Lane's first book, Rush to Judgment. I thought that was an honest book, but then I thought he was co-opted after that. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot there. It's very, very rich. And the deception is very, very rich. It's been going on for a long, long time, and nothing has changed.
Yeah.
It's only gotten more sophisticated.
Since Plato's Republic,
Yeah.
or before that?
For that, I'm sure.
Probably since Homo sapiens have been able to speak, there's been deception.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm very concerned with like the growing technocracy right now. And
Yeah,
I,
it's terrifying.
I'm kind of overwhelmed by it.
It up because they've literally been brainwashed to just, oh, it's more convenient. Oh, 5G, faster games on my internet. Yay. It's just disgusting that they're doing it, and that people are just, not seeing a problem with it. Oh, great. Self-driving cars. It's just, I'm scared. It's,
Well, why are you worried about spying if you don't have, if you're not doing anything illegal?
yeah. Yeah.
Have you read the Gulag Archipelago?
No, I haven't. I've got the audiobook. I've read his other book, A Day in the Life of Ivan Denisovich. I have read that one. I get.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
talked about that. I was just entranced by that audio that some guy with a very nice British accent read the whole thing in a very matter of fact. So just like horrific scene after horrific scene after horrific scene of man's inhumanity to man.
Yeah.
And made me really grateful for what I have, what we have now. And if I refresh that and I go back and refresh periodically, it's very difficult to have a bad day through that lens.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts?
Well, I want to thank you for getting us together, and you're doing a great job with your interviews, and I appreciate what you're doing. I think it's great you're having conversations with so many interesting people on autonomy and beyond. And I think you're on your way to great things with your interviews. And
I'm working on a book. Agnieszka has put the fire to me. So, I say, okay, accountability, I'm gonna get it done.
Yeah. And I mean, maybe you can like give me two minutes of what autonomy has meant for you.
Well, yeah, it's increased my communication skills. Like I said, I've been working on this book, picking at it for years, and now I'm really fast forwarded that. Networking with all the other students like yourself, it's been amazing getting to know everyone, and the fact that sales, for example, you mentioned, sales. What? Not? I'm not. Yeah, get away from me. You know what I mean? Because I never learned the true meaning of sales. It's not about, the one sales in quotes and then there's sales with the capital S.
Right.
I'd never thought of it that way, and every aspect of life involves sales. It was something, in fact, Jack Spirko was saying today. He was reiterating a lot of what we'd learned in the course today, and especially about sales. He says, a 4-year-old knows sales. They'll ask for it. You got to ask for it. Yeah. I mean, the importance of sales in all aspects of life. But it was something that rang true that Richard said. Every skill that we cover in autonomy, there's no career out there, there's no job out there, there's no entrepreneur project out there that does not involve every skill that is covered in autonomy. Everything kicks in, everything. And it's so simple. And it just it's something that, common sense, yeah, you kind of do it anyway, but to formally with autonomy, it's formally brought it to the forefront of my consciousness. Now I'm aware of when I am doing an interview, or when I'm doing a sales pitch, or negotiating, or the tech skills have improved. Wasting, the most valuable thing I've gotten out of this course is time management skills.
Oh my goodness.
How much time have I wasted?
Yeah.
Because I could not organize myself. The most important thing that I have learned is, well, I have my it's over there out of reach. But time is our greatest asset, you know. And I'm talking about finance. I've learned so much about liability versus assets. Did you watch Mark Soar's presentation a few weeks
I
ago?
did. Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very, yeah. That
Um,
makes sense. That time is an asset only if you use it wisely.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Um, and so now I'm conscious, always conscious of what I'm doing with my time. And if I'm wasting it, okay, it's on my schedule. Waste time, you know, free time. I don't mind. But
So
before I was wasting a lot of time because I couldn't focus my energy. And so Autonomy's helped me overcome that tremendously. So yeah, it's been a great ride.
I mean, I'm actually working at least twice as hard, and I'm totally energized and feeling good about it and optimistic for the future. I've met some fantastic people, and I'm making some fantastic plans too. So it's great stuff.
Cool, Tim. All right.
Thanks,
Well, I
Chris. I
appreciate
appreciate
talking.
that.
I'm gonna
Thanks for
stop.
getting us together. Yep.
Cool. Thanks, man.